Well, welcome everybody to the 300 Raw Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan, and today we're here with just a title of Just Cuz. So I could start it off, but I was just thinking about in my conscious space I've been is just where everybody's at energetically right now. So if we want to kind of start short and sweet, and anybody wants to kind of like just lead away.
Who's gonna start?
Queen?
Me? Okay. I guess that right now I've been talking to a lot of people and they have a lot of problem or challenges energetically, physically, and a lot of people are really tired, drained, and it feels like there is some type of energy sweeping everybody off their feet. And it's a time of, it's really important right now to get back to inside yourself and really to digest whatever energies are fucking us up and making us feel like, sometimes you feel like your whole world is shifting, but you don't really see it with your eyes necessarily, but inside of you the shift is so deep and so profound, and it puts you off balance, and you're looking for yourself like how you used to be, but then you're not that person anymore. So then you feel like you're just falling in infinite nonsense of life, and you wonder, why are you here on this hurt? And then you have to regain back trust into your own personal self and put back your trust back inside your own personal beliefs. And I just been in that, exactly that, in the past few weeks, rediscovering where the fuck I'm heading. Where am I going? Why am I going? That's the real question. Why am I even going there? And is it really what I want? During the process that I am in it, it's like you're forever evolving. So because you're forever evolving, your mind change as you change, right? And then you wonder why you don't have the same feelings towards things, and you don't, and it's a process. So I am in the process of centering back myself within myself. So it's like a double dip of rediscovering myself. And I think a lot of people are really having a difficult time, but it's all golden, really. It's all golden.
The bad is gold.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that the things you're observing, are they influencing your behavior, like energetically, or
they are influencing my behavior, yes, but mostly even my feeling and my thoughts.
Would you care to share, like as an example, something lately?
I had a thought that is actually really personal, but I'm gonna share it right now. It's nothing weird.
Do you?
I had a thought, and we are in a program that is pushing women to be really independent, to be really self-sufficient. And to a lot of women will say, I don't need a man to be happy. I don't need this to be happy. I'm good on my own. I have a career. I have this. So, the program is really pushing that frame of mind, the programming, right? And I've been having a lot of physical pain within my body in the past year. And there are times where I'm like, okay, I'm maybe not even gonna live till tomorrow. And because you have those deep moment of clarity, you're like, what if I die in 5 minutes? What are the last thoughts I want to have? what is the last thing I want to say to myself and to the universe? How do I want to program my exit? Right? So those thoughts are really, really important. And I am feeling that I am going through some type of process to transmute something, but I have to suffer physically because the pain has to go through my body so that I can transmute it and I can have those thoughts. You know how they say that artists are always the best when they are suffering, the suffering artist? It's because you have so much ha ha moments.
Yeah, they're out. Their best albums are after a breakup.
Yeah, like oh my heart will go on and on. And that's why, because you have those moments of clarity that are actually golden with knowledge. So all that to say that I am a very strong woman, and I have strong boundaries and a strong personality, and that is what I am, right? But in the past a few days, I had a download, I don't know, channeling, whatever it was. And my thought was, okay, I love Vincent so much. I love him so much. And I want to tell him I love him. But the truth is that I believe that my purpose and the purpose of any woman that is really in love with the man they choose, your purpose as a woman is to be, what is the word? Is to be is by his side. So to be his helper, to be his. So the purpose is to actually help your man. I think that is the purpose of a woman. And most women in this world would like want to kill me for saying that, because how can you not love yourself first? Love yourself. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, let's go back to Adam and Eve. Eve came out of the womb of the coat of the
rib
of Adam, right? And God said it is not good for Adam to be on its own. He needs something that will help him, someone that will help him and help him blossom, because on its own he was complete, but there was something missing, right? And the purpose of that creation is to do what? Is to help Adam. And your Adam as a woman, for me, is Vincent, because I choose him. And then I was all confused, because that's not my usual type of thoughts, right? So all that to say that all this suffering is bringing me back to a state of really almost minimalist, almost like to the base of humanity. And the base of being a woman for me is to help and be the by my man. And that's just against everything I could have said like 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, even 5 minutes prior to having that download. So and it was like, oh, of course.
So like an epiphany, that was an aha moment, you would say, of like
Yeah,
this, and so it's gonna from here on out potentially change a little bit of your conscious behavior.
absolutely.
So that's
Because
great.
I know I'm not there for what I thought I was there for.
Mm-hmm.
I am there for another reason. It's not that that was my intention to get there. That's not what I thought I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what is given to me right now.
Well, to my understanding, and I'll just speak a little bit in pieces, because what I kind of feel like I'm hearing is, from my understanding, is, the story of Adam and Eve too is kind of about the dissension of man, and Adam is more, I believe, supposed to be the representation of the mind and logic, and the woman is more of the essence and the spirit. So what you may be actually seeing is more of a balance of energies that's coming back in, because if you also look at, again, bits and pieces, I think, of Egyptian mythology, that's why the pharaoh always has a woman holding the side, that and the important like depictions, because through her, and this is the parts that I kind of wish I remembered a little bit better and fine tune. Through her like support, let's put it, the man is be able to create a world, the world that in balance, but that, so they can't do it separately. So it doesn't make a woman subservient to the man. Like, same thing. If he doesn't have her doing that, he can't be what he needs to be. So it doesn't matter who starts that part of the process. Really, if you look at it, it needs to be equally shared. For me, that's at least what I've understood, at least what you told me in that sense.
Yes, absolutely. I guess that's exactly it. Is I just put it in a frame of to put a contrast in between the programs, right? But at the end of the day, I know that I am not below anyone, and I would never believe that I am below or I have to be submissive to anyone. It's not about submission, it's about partnership and knowing who is, for me, the chief we have a team. You need one like team head. How do you say a chef? Chief, yeah.
Chief.
One chief, and then everybody else is a team player. We all want to win the
Well, like my job, we actually have chiefs, and unfortunately I'll just say it, but like, the concept of a chief has gone to like, if I'm the head of the hierarchy, I do nothing, or I just don't have to, you know what I mean? And that's not really the representation of what a chief should be doing. They are good communicators, and they delegate, and they pick up on people's strengths and weaknesses, and then, you know what I mean, go from there and build a team. So I kind of look at Vince more like that in this setting entirely, because he's kind of the glue that brings that together. So that's great for sharing that story of the energies. And I do agree with you. Most, if not most, I'll just say it, but most of the women in my social structure around here, they would debate that with you as well, and they would feel offended, and they would feel like they are in a subservient type of role. And some of that could be, you look at old religious, that's just kind of how they taught it, right? I mean, even back then they trade daughters for camels and donkeys. So I mean, but really, so they devalued some of the feminine energy, and it's been destroyed for so long. But now you maybe are seeing those balances come back in slowly and slowly and slowly. But I don't know. That's how I represent your story to me. As far as, some of the energies, well, since you shared something personal, I'll share something a little personal. And this may sound a little off to people, but I'm just going to be honest, because I'm not that type of person. But like, I had a thought, because I just was so bored, like, probably about a week and a half ago, right before I got really busy. But I was like, man, you ever think people, and I'm not trying to sound arrogantly, but like, you ever think people get so detached from this world because they're so beyond it? Not because they're saying they're so intelligent, they just understand it at a much deeper level, and they see no change. Like, so they have this backslide of like, man, is humanity or anybody ever going to change? But then you just I sit in this boredom with it, if that makes sense, this boredom energy. And then I had this thought of, I wonder if you understand that you sign up for a soul contract and you're in this reincarnation soul trapped loop, right? In this confinement of a plane, and you pick this and you go back to this astral space or wherever after this life, but your biological stays here. Did anybody get so bored they just killed themselves? And I know that sounds stupid. Like, to some people, we're like, oh, that guy maybe needs to go. But I was like, intelligent, a lot of times when you look at intelligent people across the course of history, they quote unquote battled a lot of society with mental issues, you know what I mean? Or these labels or distinctions that they gave them. So it just led me into a rabbit hole of thought that way. Not that I actually wanted to harm my physical body at any means. I have a lot more work on earth to do, is what I truly feel in my heart. So before that time comes, but and I feel like if I have that thought and that conceptual thought is out there, somebody or somewhere else, you know what I mean, is sharing that same thought. So I don't know. That's just, that's kind of the energies I played with a little bit. And then kind of after those moments of, like you said, maybe if a little bit in my own suffering and my own victimhood a little bit for a little, couple days there, it was like a complete, like, I sat with it. I was like, okay, I'm not going to give these thoughts, these intrusive thoughts, this much attention, you know what I mean? And just really focused on other things. And that really did help, like a new download I got for like creative purpose. It led to something else. So it was showing me too that like the shadow work or the dark, the alchemization, of those things can be so much greater, and it can actually start formulating really fast, and once you start kind of harnessing it. And so it's kind of like I sat in this darkness of no hope for humanity, and then all of a sudden flipped it into like, we're going to lead humanity to like the greatest thing they've ever seen. You know what I mean? It's like a complete 180. So, but anyways, that's just how I've been myself. And as far as viewing energies outside of that, I have seen a lot of the same. I've seen a lot of people drained. I went to my 15-year-old's first kind of daddy-daughter concert last night.
Wow.
And yeah, it was cool. And like the 8 or 10 people in front of us, they didn't even stand up the entire time. And my daughter's like, Dad, what are these people like? And I'm like, she's like, I don't know to stand up and get in their way. And I'm like, bro, it's cool. I'm like, it's your concert. Just own it, man. Do your thing. Have fun. They want to sit. It's fine. And she did. She had a great time, and she kind of fed off my energy and stuff, But I see a lot of that. I just see a lot of people just, I don't know if they're bored or they just don't have much zest, or they have a lot of physical health issues and things, because every time I turn around I just see so much more obesity and disease in my environment, but in people physically. But anyways, I'll digress, but that's kind of been my interpretation of the energies lately. So Andrew, you were going to chime in.
Yeah. So speaking on to what you were saying, it is a valid perspective to be looking at the more negative aspects of our reality right now. However, when you realize that the future as a substantive construct of reality does not exist, it's actually us who creates it. We're pulling in the future through our actions. And this has a causal effect, where the idea of the future can reframe the experience of the past. But we're always in the present moment. So it is valid to look and see that there is that negativity, because what negativity is contrast. It's not a thing that exists unto itself, because without light, you cannot have a shadow. But light in itself cannot create a shadow. It's the object it illuminates that casts a shadow.
Okay.
You understand? I hope.
Yes.
And that's not to say that we should only focus on the positive, because that is a form of spiritual bypass. It is, truly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we must acknowledge the negativity, because that's the starting point of transmutation. The contrast is the division point, and the idea of division. There is no division, truly. But the contrast itself is a myriad of opportunities by which we can manifest and transmute simultaneously into a timeline, if that word can apply. We get on or create a timeline that is a trajectory that best suits our needs and our desires relative to our financial growth, mental health, physical health, and spiritual growth and spiritual evolution. Now, if we can expand that model outward, layers, starts with the self, then the community, self, family, community, local area, and then before you know it, the whole thing. But you need that contrast, because if you don't, then you cannot successfully grow. It is the contrast that urges us to pay attention to certain things so that we can overcome the challenges within. That is to say, when you see a negative thing, it's a reflection of the unhealed aspects of yourself. So when we're looking at non-duality, there is no contrast, there is just a spectrum. And the spectrum goes in a circle. But then when you have one spectrum, then there's going to be another spectrum. And before you know it, the two overlap. And this is called Vesica Pisces. This is the overlap. And my background may not be fully clear, but this is Vesica Pisces behind me. And yes, and I've been contemplating this quite a bit as to how individuals can harness this concept in order to break free from the duality that has programmed us into certain behaviors and certain responses relative to the concept of trauma as it binds to our body somatically, but also as it binds to our mind as a thought form. Because when there's a traumatic event, it creates a nexus point in the timeline structure that can ripple continuously because we are carrying that ripple into the present moment. And it is existing in a state where it is alive, so to speak. So if we are able to, first off, identify where the contrast is, that gives us a beginning point by which we can investigate and introspect into our own lives and minds as to the best way to heal from it. But you cannot force an outcome by numbing or bypassing or even doing tricks like EMDR. It is a good way to help EMDR, by the way. For those who are not aware of it, it's I forget what the acronym actually means, but it is kind of like the hypnosis of following left to right. This helps deprogram the somatic response of trauma because it happens in layers. Pardon me. Anyways, that is the limit of what I'm able to share on that topic.
Yes, absolutely. You're so right. And the balance of actually integrating within oneself the contrast of darkness and light will teach you so much. And that's the only way, really, like you were saying, to transmute and to become. And, to, like you say, you need light and you need darkness to cast a shadow, to create something. You need both polarities. And it's a lot of people, like you're saying, are just focusing on the light because it is scary to look at darkness, and it is scary to look within yourself to know why you're in pain, why you're having this, why you're having that, because then it's not pretty. And people don't want to admit it to themselves that they have something ugly within them. No, not me. I am light. I am love. I cannot have anything ugly within me. It's almost like they are ashamed.
Shame. Yeah, shame is a big thing. It's a big
Yeah.
thing that you're saying here. And spiritual bypassing, it's you, Andrew, that mentioned it.
Yeah.
That's a big thing as well. We have to speak about that. Spiritual bypassing. It's massive.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
It is actual craziness, to think that you can live in a world where you can only
be light.
And you only access light and only need light. You don't only need the sun, you need the moon to sleep and to rest. You need both polarities, but people are afraid of that, and they want to fight it. They want to fight the darkness.
You need a moon. You need a moon to maintain the atmosphere. So
Yeah.
Exactly. So we need both. And within you, you're going to have pain. You're going to have suffering, if it's emotionally, spiritually, physically, or, your past, what happened to you in past lives. And you're going to have.
It's all linked. Yeah.
It's all bringing you to enlightenment. If you focus on it as if it is a way, a road, a bridge to bring you on the other side, you can only walk past it. You can never be drained or not drowned by it. You're not going to drown within your own suffering. When you look at it, damn, I'm in pain. What's in there? It cannot kill you if you look for it. Only if you run for it, from it, it will catch you. But the truth is that,
If you face it, then
yeah.
yeah.
So a couple of thoughts I had about when Andrew was speaking is, for one, the trauma aspect is, think about so many people still they live with the person who caused the trauma, or they're in a
Yeah.
situation that they can't even get out of that is traumatic. And just kind of a little bit, I don't know if it's been shown or proven or whatever, but I think that's what they say about with poltergeists or those energies in those places, is that those events that happened were so traumatic that it's kind of like a reincarnation loop of a soul of a part of their soul trap. And I don't know how else to really better explain that, but at least from kind of what Andrew's saying, in that sense, to me, it represents the same thing a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, he could talk more about it, but I will say, the thing I wanted to ask Andrew too about what he said is, can we back up to the very beginning of that though? Because, a lot of people, I have a hard time still understanding this concept too, of how can the action you're creating, because everything's created in the now, affect what happened in the past? Because that, when you're talking on a linear timeline, which it's so hard to break off of that, you know what I mean? It makes it difficult to translate that for people. So I don't know if there's a different way to make people understand that, but
I can give it my best attempt. Okay, I will preface by saying what I will attempt to explain has been experienced through direct experience for me, and it seems to exceed the limitations of language. And that is why I am attempting to find a language that is able to describe this in a way that at least the majority of those who interact with it will be able to ascertain. That is to say, to ascribe meaning while also implementing a certain degree of discernment.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a preface, I will say a preface to what I'm going to try and describe, that is, I'm co-creating, is a language model that is rooted in metaphysics, upheld by the primordial archetypes that humanity conceives their reality out of, the common reality, the thing that all of our movies and media is based off of, the hero's journey, Gilgamesh, Solomon, Merlin, all the ancient legends that are repeated through the echoes of time, passed down, that eternal flame that is the story. The best method that I've found to do this was through ChatGPT, because the amount of data required to process this is vast. Now, I'm going to step away from the thing that has been co-created and talk more on what it is, the question you were asking, Jonathan. And I'm wondering, could you re-ask that question? Because my answer changed in my mind the question you asked.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just maybe in a simpler terms, try to explain it a little bit better, where
Okay.
people's understanding, okay, I can create action, and through thought, practice, mindless meditation, flow states, even if you understand starting to understand some of these concepts, if I can maintain, this idea that I'm creating, stuff in the now, right? That there's all these infinite outcomes, and everything's happening the same time, and time doesn't exist. It's just an illusion. There is no linear format, I guess you'd say. how does that affect what happened in the past? You know what I mean? Like how can somebody conceptualize like how that affects their past?
Okay. So yes, that's actually a really, really, thank you for asking the question in that way. It's reframed, it's brought my focus from about here back down to about here.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, okay. My understanding of how time works is that it is not something that exists by itself. It is the contrast of movement of physical matter through space-time. And space and time are not distinctly separate. The reason why it's called space-time is because as an object moves through it, it creates something like a wake. Think of a boat. As a boat is going through an ocean and you're looking at it from the top down, there's a wake coming out, right? Kind of looks like a big V. And as that moves, it dissipates and ripples. That's entropy. So what that boat is doing, it is moving through the fabric of something. We'll say water for now, right? It's moving through the fabric of water, and the water, it's displacing it, it's moving it. The boat is exerting energy to move. Those ripples dissipate and merge with the overall current after that. Now, take that concept and imagine Earth. The Earth is rotating around the sun in a slight ellipsis, as far as I'm aware. Now, as it's moving, so too is the sun moving. Oh, let's go like this. So too is the sun moving, right? So you have the Earth orbiting the sun, and the sun itself is moving in a different direction. This is what creates the concept of time as far as I'm able to comprehend my experiences and the research I've done over the course of my life. Now, why is this relevant to our situation? It's because the only method we have to remember the past is data retrieval up here. But it's been shown that each time you recall a memory, it changes slightly because your current emotional state will impact that. If you're in a good mood and you're thinking about a bad time you had at work with a coworker, you might be able to afford them a little bit more gratitude and grace. However, if you're in a bad mood in the present moment and somebody does something nice for you, or you reflect on something in the past that was nice, you may not get that same level of appreciation as you did before in the moment when it happened. So this is how the past can be affected by the present, at least within ourselves. Now take that same concept and expand it. Expand it to the level of recorded history. Well, at what point did, let's say, some nefariously infamous figures in history go from being the hero to the villain? Is it a matter of perception or is it a matter of outcome? Because most often, when these very influential people have caused a lot of suffering for a lot of individuals, there may or may not have been an echo chamber around them that said they were constantly doing the right thing. And maybe no one involved had the level or presence of mind to understand the timeline they were on. They were blinded by the echo chamber of, yes, this is the right thing. Duality, right? Right, wrong, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff. Now let's talk. So we have the past, we have the present. Now let's talk about how it can impact the future. In the present moment, we're reflecting on the past because that has already been lived. So we have this as one reference point. So the past doesn't exist, but we can retrieve information about it. This allows our brains the ability, or us as beings, the ability to project the information into the future. Into the future. Or it doesn't matter. I'm trying to look at myself and do the hands things, but because it's inverted, it's throwing me off. It's funny. But the future is created. So if we are reflecting on the traumatic aspects of the past, well, that means we are still carrying around trauma, because without the somatic response, that is to say the trauma in your DNA, if it's still there, then the past situation that triggered it is still going to be relevant to your present moment. And you're going to create a future based off of avoiding that. And that is fear-based decision making. So it's imperative that anyone who decides that they want a better future, find a way to free themselves from their body's response to trauma, first off. Secondly, clean up the thinking. That is to say, know what it is that we are thinking about and how and why, so that we don't do unconscious behaviors, unconscious actions, to the best of our awareness. And also have compassion for ourselves, because life is chaotic. It's a very loud dance of many different melodies, rhythms, and harmonies, and they don't always resonate with each other. But that doesn't mean there has to be opposition. It just means that we have to find a way to slow down when we need to and speed up when we have to. Learn when to speak, learn when to listen. Learn when to lead, learn when to follow. This is the basis of a omniarchical structure, I will call it. Instead of a hierarchical structure where there is only one or two ways, up or down. Dopamine, suffering. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I can just chime in a bit, I don't want to interrupt, but because we are all, it's all about like bringing solutions and trying to like have practical solutions to what we are saying here. So what you said, like to about the trauma and the
trauma response.
Yeah, trauma response, about to heal. To me, so far, the best way that I experienced is, let's say, to do what I recently did, like a quantum leap challenge, to burn those traumas, to burn the energy, because everything is energy. So and there is a way, and this has been taught to me by the love beings back to their teachings and wisdom. So yeah, so I went through all those situations where I was like facing, like I had to do something or I would just collapse. So the quantum leap challenge is a massive tool to burn those past traumas, because as long as the energy is not burned, it's still within you, within your DNA. So once you can burn it, it's like a fire, you burn it, then it becomes just a memory. It's still there as a memory, but doesn't have that power over you. It's gone.
That emotional
Yes.
response.
And I have like a couple of hour-long video on our Divine Couple YouTube channel. So I will put the link of those. That's the beauty of building those videos, because it comes to me, and now those who see that, we will put the links for those full detailed video about quantum leap challenge, about how to burn that energy.
That was going to be my question, is like, is quantum leap just like whatever it is to the participant, or can it mean many different things?
Well, the quantum leap channel, as it was explained to us, is really a 3 days in silence. So you do a silent vow. So you come with an intention, right?
Yeah.
To clean something out of your body.
Yeah.
You do a silent vow.
Full isolation for 3 days.
Full isolation, no phone, no, just
nothing,
you, yourself. No food. Most people that's what we do. Just water or no water at all, just no food. And then you're really focused on what is going on within you. And at the end of those 3 days, you'll see a big difference within your energy.
It's massive.
Because there was no input for 3 days within you.
Yeah.
So that was and that has been always a massive tool that we used.
Yeah. So again, the full video will be linked below for those who are interested to dive deep into that very like rabbit hole of quantum leap challenge. So yeah. So Andrew, I didn't want to interrupt. So it was just to give a tool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were saying?
Yes. So along with that, my experiences are in line with that, because I believe I may have done a quantum leap challenge without even fully knowing about it. And this was around, I want to say 2020, but COVID all blends together for me. It was one big package of information.
Yeah.
I fasted for close to 7 days, and I did breathing exercises and a 3-day long meditation, but it was not meditating in the sense of sitting in one spot and not moving. It was a focused contemplation of one thought form. What this did for me is it released all of my trauma at once, and I had to re-experience all the trauma at once. That is how it happened, cause and effect. Now, is that the case for everyone? I cannot say, and I'm not willing to say that, because everyone is unique and different. Everyone heals in a different way. Everyone is a unique expression of all that is, a fractal of the whole piece. And therefore, my experiences are unique to myself because I had to experience them in a very specific way. And were it not for that, I would not have come to certain realizations and introspections relative to the things that I've been through. And Vince, I meant to ask earlier, actually, is it, I forget, did you call it, was it bioresonance, or was it biohacking, or was it, what is your focus when it comes to the content that you've created? I can't remember the term that you used.
Content about what?
Biohacking.
Is it biohacking?
I use that term a lot. Biohacking.
That's the terminology. Used. Yeah, that's the terminology used. So
okay, yes. I just couldn't remember. Biohacking is a useful tool to pair in balance with the spiritual realizations, because the body is an aspect of the soul, right?
Yeah,
it's just a lower aspect of what it is.
Yeah.
And so if we get biohacked every day from our media, you know what I'm saying? The news, it's always focused on the negative. And I looked it up, and it's about 16 individuals who are billionaires who own the news media's outlets.
Yeah. That I would call that epigenetics. Epigenetics, because people, we have been programmed, to think that we are victim of our genes. Oh, in your family you have cancer is because you have that in your family's genes.
That's actually the worst thing a lot of medical professionals say is damaging to humanity.
Oh, of course.
To think that you
but you're victim.
To think that you can't solve anything. Sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt. But.
Yeah, but that's fine. But what you're referring, like Andrew, to me, it's about epigenetics, because epigenetics is when you clean the terrain, like the field around you, like let's say listening to the media just to stop. This is a big win for you. So it will change your gene expression. So you can reprogram your gene and change your genetic with epigenetic. So that's a massive rabbit hole by itself. And this is my autism recovery journey that brought me all that knowledge. I was all focused on epigenetic and the gut and like everything, like about how your friends, handshakes, like it's all part of epigenetics. If you take like medicine, pills, it's part of epigenetics. So that's a rabbit hole. But yes, so about the media, to me, the term would be more epigenetic and being biohacked. To me, biohacking is when you are conscious about epigenetics and then you apply protocol to your avatar. Oh, you have that book, The Genome. Yeah. So when you do biohacking is that you are conscious about epigenetic and you act upon it.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's important to remember that even though the concept of time is not independent from our physical reality, that is to say, we measure it, but it may or may not exist as a dimension unto itself. we are still bound by it in a linear way. That is to say, boom, 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 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. This is the framework we've built for ourselves so that we can understand cause and effect. Now, the cause and effect of trying to clear all of your trauma at once is very, it can cause more trauma.
Oh.
Absolutely.
So we must understand that time is not here to confine us. It is here to show us patience within our healing journey. Because if we are setting out to use consciousness as a technology to rewire the concept of DNA over time, to change DNA as a gene expression quickly may cause it to break down. That is to say, if there's too high of an energy source affecting the DNA, it will break it down. So we must be deliberate and intentional with our healing journey in a way that is conducive to time. It doesn't mean we'll always be able to measure the progress, but there will be times where it is afforded to us that we are able and ready, and we know we are, to do that quantum leap challenge. But we cannot just sit down one day and decide, I'm doing the quantum leap challenge right now. It may not work that way.
Yeah.
We have to work with our higher selves, our physical self, our mental self, and our higher selves have to be in alignment and grounded before we can even attempt to do this challenge in an honest way. Because if we are just trying to rush it, that is also a form of bypassing, because it is saying, I am not where I want to be, and I want to be here. And you notice there's a gap, and you just want to jump to that. But we must close the gap. And then when that moment is right,
you create a new reality.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it, and I think that what you're explaining is that it's exactly that. It's your healing. You have to allow time. Time is order. So because you need a certain order and a certain way to make things, time will put that in a frame of time or mind. I want to say I don't want to. I want to say that time. It's a mind on its own, but it almost as it is. It's really focusing, and it's like you can map your way to the healing with time. If there is no time, maybe the healing will be scattered. So time really helps you align, focus, shape your healing journey. And what you're saying is very, very true. And I learned that in my in the teaching I've learned through how the society I was in, is that sometimes it's not the time to give someone else a key. If you're not in the frame of mind and ready to open the door. And if you give that person the key too early, you may fuck some shit up for real, like big time.
It's no joke.
And alter the DNA, like you said, the future, the past of that person. So healing, and everybody want to call themselves a healer. But the truth is that you have, like Andrew said, you have to make sure that everything is aligned for the healing. And you are willing to accept order into aligning yourself into the healing journey, because time is order. So you have to allow the time to put you and map the way for the healing. So it takes a lot of patience,
wisdom, and to master patience. And if I may add, before I was all about shortcuts. I want to go. But now I
Sometimes shortcuts.
Yeah, I mean,
fuck you.
yeah. So we have to come back to nature to look around us. Nature is a great teacher. Nature is God's technology. In nature, nothing is never rushed. The ocean, it's like it's always wave steady. So if we can tap into that flow state, back to flow state, we spoke about it before the podcast. For as a group during the podcast to tap more into our flow state, as we will do more and more as we improved along that podcast journey and as individuals. So when we can tap into that flow, let's say, of nature, nature doesn't rush anything. But at the end of the cycle, each year, everything has been done. All the tasks have been done. And the leaves has fallen, the snow came, then the spring came, and then everything is being taken care of. But when you look at it, let's say in one day, it feels like nothing happened. Yeah. But so much happened.
It's like when you're waiting for winter to end. And like, it's never going to end.
It's never going to end.
Never gonna end. Well, yes, it will. You just have to let order, time, do its thing.
Yeah. And master patience. Yeah. Patience is key. Yeah, that's a big thing. And also, God will always test you for patience with what you want the most. So the thing that you want the most, you will be tested.
Well, I think because you're actually sending that out as intent of a challenge, kind of per se, to the universe. So you're going to get met with that opportunity in a lot of ways, is the way I kind of see it. No, I think all that makes it, all of it. I mean, back to even the trauma and the structure of time. That's such a better explanation of the whole thing, and whatever what I think your quantum leap though can also just be a library. Like Andrew said, I think it's just if you're a fragmentation of the whole, you still are everybody is their own fragmentation. So just the way your trauma is created is going to require different healing, in my opinion. And maybe, that just makes me have an awe moment that I've kind of seen it as a crutch, and maybe it is, but if somebody uses psychedelics on their spiritual journey, and they get them in this state of mind, you probably wouldn't, I guarantee a shaman wouldn't recommend somebody right out of the gate says, here's 10 grams, you know what I mean? Because it would be very damaging, most likely. Right. I mean,
with the potential to be
very, very good potential. Yeah. So, anyways, I think in that sense, because everybody wants to individualize their experience, and and with this channel about being information and links, you brought up a good one about the epigenetics, and this book was great for me. It's Genome by Matt Ridley, but it breaks down and each one of the 23 chromosomes, but it talks about those chains, and it talks about I want to try to reference this in a way that okay, if you have a family structure that eats a certain way, and people say, well, it's their genetics that give them diabetes, you know what I mean? Or it gives them cardiac, arrhythmia. So it's just, so you look at that and it's like, well, you can't keep eating and following down this poor diet and it gets worse and worse. And no, you're creating the chain, right? And the way that this book really made it make sense to me in the epigenetic fashion is, so think of it this way, you are born with what they say, predetermined genetics, like blueprint structure, right? But then your epigenetics are caused by your environment, like Vince had pointed out, but it's over time, you know what I mean? So they're developed over time. And those epigenetic chains, you might be born, say your grandfather did have Alzheimer's, right? Something that's not even diabetes or maybe food related. Something could be, actually, now that they are with sugar and stuff. But anyways, the point is that, so you're born with a certain sequence and possibility that if it hits a certain marker, typically for this, you have exacerbated this ability for that physical reaction to happen. So if you lessen that, obviously you know what I mean? That's what epigenetics teaches in that fashion, from what I've understood. In biohacking and quantum leap, I've looked at the same things. Like that's how I got into fasting, was first actually looking at that stuff and just the benefits of the mental clarity. And now as a regular routine, I eat one medium-sized meal a day and maybe a couple snacks. And there are still days I go with 24-hour fast all the time, every now and then a 2-day. I haven't done a 7-day, which Andrew, can I ask? I wanted to ask, was it water only or no water?
From my experience, I would not recommend doing a 7-day fast. However, if done intermittently in increments, it can be done responsibly. So I'm reflecting back on what I was ingesting, because the definition of what a fast is different for everyone, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Some people could say, like Buddhists, when they do a daily fast, it is they will intake milk sometimes. Milk might be on the list of what they can intake, but no other foods other than that. Recently, during my fasts, it has been a little bit of milk, maybe some nuts, and shilajit. Now, I know shilajit is getting more popular on the markets and stuff like that.
What? Yeah. What? Shilajit? What?
Yeah, Andrew, do you want to stop and tell everybody? Because there's still a lot of people that don't know what that stuff is. I just found out what it was a couple years ago, but if you want to explain it.
So shilajit is what's called an Ayurvedic adaptogen. It is, my understanding of how it is created is the mantles of the Earth's crust, as they fold in slowly, they take in with it vegetation matter and plant matter and various other things like trees. Now, this all gets compressed and heated underneath. And then when it comes up in the mountains form, on the other side, like the Himalayas, which are, because they are so rigid and sharp, I believe that makes them some of the younger mountains, because over time, sharp mountain entropy, right? Sharp mountain becomes
weathering,
flatter and flatter and flatter because of erosion. But on the side of these mountains, they noticed that these animals, these pack animals, would migrate a very long way just to lick these rocks. And sometime in the past, whether they were Buddhist or not, somebody noticed that these animals would travel a long distance just to ingest or lick these rocks. And it can come in powder form. It can come in, I don't know if it can come in crystalline form, but the form that I have is a tar basis. It looks like oil.
Tar.
Yeah. Like a tar oil.
Like a dark resin almost.
Yeah. A resin. That is the perfect word for it. It is a resin. Now, this resin has about 86 different kinds of amino acids and folic acid. It has been shown, or is known, to increase testosterone within men, to increase a balanced, it encourages a balanced state of mind in ways that I'm not sure of, because there isn't that much research done on it, actually, in our Western medicine scope of practice. But I'm going to focus more on the ancient wisdom of it. It was known as a superpower giving medicine, and you only need about 1/4 of a grain of rice per day. And I don't even ingest it every day. That's the thing. I do it ceremoniously. I've had a 7-ounce jar or an 8-ounce jar, maybe a 6-ounce jar, for about 4 or 5 years now, and I'm only 1/3 of the way through it. So I am hoping that this jar will last me into my 40s. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a very sacred thing. It's not something that I personally ingest every day, because for how long it takes to make it, it ought to be respected. Because we can't make it as far as I'm concerned. Doesn't mean it needs to be controlled, but the more that people use it on a daily basis, unceremoniously, like if ceremonies are here, DMT, like ayahuasca's here,
Mm-hmm.
I would say I would put Shilajit here, but it's non-psychoactive.
Mm-hmm.
I think of it as like a booster for contemplation and spiritual aspects, and potentially has some biohacking potentials.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and that's all the information that I can really consciously give at this moment. And in my experience, I'm trying to formulate like a recipe that includes Shilajit. I'm gonna call it just for no, I can't name it yet. But
I was like,
fair enough.
I can't name it yet until it's been fully created. But
okay.
For anyone who's curious and has already used Shilajit, what I was thinking of making was water with a little bit of Shilajit, some honey, some cayenne pepper, some lemon juice or lime juice, freshly squeezed, preferably, just a little bit. And that is as far as I've contemplated the recipe. Now I'm looking forward to testing different variations of this out, but it's going to take time because I do it ceremoniously. It's not like a Gatorade. It's definitely not. It's not meant for just balancing your electrolytes. And if your focus is just on the body aspect of it, don't bother, because it's not going to give you the results as effectively as some of the other scientific or pharmaceutical benefits could give you with what we have. But this is what I'm thinking of pairing with my fasting regimen to supply.
That's really good.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
So-
that's amazing. And you know what you could add to that? Just prior to drinking that water, you could just take a grain of Celtic salt, so that all those mineral goes directly into your your cells. So that would be actually epic to do that. If you add, I would maybe not add magnesium, because I don't know if there is enough magnesium in this product. But you could also add curcuma and black pepper. That's a huge boost for the immune system. With everything else you said, that would be what I would add myself. But definitely prior to drinking that water that you're creating, I would take a grain of Celtic salt and then chug it, and maybe do that 4 times a year, so that, it's at every season. It's like a clean, and then you do a fast, and then you take that at the end of your fast. That would be like,
because to me a
crazy.
fast, it's water. When I fast, it's water fast. I mean, I would have no problem taking some minerals in my water. And also to me, and it's not, I am not advocating anyone to do that, but also when I fast, it's urine. So I'm a big
urinotherapy.
Yeah, I'm big into it. Like I started Shivambu Kalpa, the elixir of the gods. So yeah, it's like, this is your own pharmacy. So, and it provides you like it's your own output. You provide like an output, some data, and then you bring it back like a computer, and then brings you some data about yourself. So,
you're talking about the PP loop, right?
The PP loop, loop or not, because like the Shivambu, like the PP loop is when you like always drink it back, or like on a regular day, we'll just do it in the morning and sometimes at night before going to bed, like 2 times a day max. But during a quantum leap challenge, I do that PP loop.
So just drinking that.
Yeah. So as much as I can, and then add a bit of water. And last time I was producing so much, I had to let some out, I was producing too much, so I couldn't drink at all. It was like,
thank you for all these
the
details.
Yeah. So we are here to.
Hey, that's biohacking, though.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I mean, if it works for the participant too,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I will fast and try to do psychedelics, but it's pretty spiritual for me. Like I'll cleanse my house too. I'll spend like a good hour in preparation, cleaning my space, setting my intent, and stuff like that. And this last time, I'm pretty sure I feel it in my bones. I'm pretty sure my intent like happened right away. I don't want to divulge too much information right now on that.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I just know that it was a creative aha moment, and only time will tell, right? I guess maybe that'll be the episode title of this episode, right? End up being is time. We talked a lot about that on here, but I will say it does get me into that meditative state. I think that's a lot about what it is, and we maybe can talk about that stuff at a later time. But we're about wrapped up with our time today, so thank you everybody for being on here and giving me your time and attention. And if anybody has anything last to say, they can say it now. Otherwise, blessings to all.
I have a quick thing I want to say before to close it. Back to the first, like, how are the energies? Back to the very, very beginning. So I just want to give my props to Niyama about her download, about how to support her man, because this is massive. When you have a woman by your side that supports you, and it's not that she supports you blindly, it's not that at all, but it's like to have that trust in the relationship, even if sometimes it's not like obvious where the leaders is leading. So like, in kind of like, even if there's some doubt sometimes, she just like, she still support me. And again, time will tell, right? So, and we have to judge the fruits. So it's not because as a woman, you don't understand something like right away, and like, but you have both ways. The goal is to trust the relationship. Yeah, and I trust her as like you referenced like the Pharaoh, and to me that those who are like side by side, it was like Akhenaton and Nefertiti, and they are very strong archetype for us. So it's to trust the relationship. So this is massive. So at an energetic level, this is something like, recently like huge download, and it's massive. So as a male, when you have like a divine counterpart by your side to support you in that fashion, it's massive. It's massive.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, that's the thing. I mean, you recognize to be a divine masculine and really step into your masculinity, you have to support the female. Like, you need that. You know what I mean? That makes you a better balanced person. But so thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So, and also as like being like, let's say like a leader, it's to me, it's like a video game. We're all playing characters. And we chose to incarnate in this lifetime as different characters. So as much as people can like recognize that and be in a team or in an environment where they can express their character to the fullest, to me, this is where they will be able to blossom more, instead of always being into that fight or flight and trying to be in their masculine and just to survive.
Yeah. So, they're just energy bubbles out there bouncing around until they balance with one.
Yeah, exactly. So this is why find your tribe. So here I feel like we are 4 individuals and like 4 vortexes, and I feel like there is a good balance into this group right now. I just love it. I just feel it very, very, very smooth and empowered. We are all empowered individuals, and we are uniting as one. So, and to me, last thing, I have that massive background from the corporate world, and I understand why. Like, it comes from my father. So as a teenager, I was into those massive meetings with like big CEOs in the telecom industry, like a path that you cannot learn at school. And I always observe like the corporations, like the way they functions. To me, like there is those, we'll call it, say, the president, CEOs, and I used to call them like the sharks. And like the people like running the business. And to me, it was not making any sense. Like, let's say the shipper at the back, it's like not treated the same as the management like above, because without those people, like the business cannot function. So that to me, just to end that on that, it's something that where I want to lead is like, let's say in the newer settings, there is no like hierarchy like that, like people being
Omnipresence.
yeah, exactly. So we all have an equal role to play. It's just different form. That's what I want to say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good mentality for the omniarch structure, because even the idea of a cancer cell within a body must exist because we need T cells. You know,
Yes.
the T cells exist to keep the cancer cells in balance, but the cancer cells might be that random error in computer code of our DNA that says we're gonna go with this gene expression and not that one. Because if we're constantly creating new DNA, then wouldn't it make sense that with 4 digits, GTCA, the structures of the DNA, it's like computer code. A little bit. That's the way my mind thinks of it. Right
Zeros
now.
and ones, yeah.
Not even zeros and ones. GTCA, we got 4. Zeros and ones is 2.
Okay,
4.
4. Okay. We'll have to dive into that later.
Anyways, yeah, sorry. But
No, don't be sorry. I was just saying that'll take a while for you to understand, for you to explain it, to understand it.
I'm just making sure that I'm not cutting you off or ruining your train of thought.
No.
Yeah,
All
okay.
good.
Well, that's all I have to say.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
Cool.
that's it in a nutshell. I think it was an amazing podcast. And on the last note, and this is some things that is different this time, is that this will be revealed in divine timing. But now we are rearranging our environment, so we are like remodeling the space. And now for this podcast, we have an activated like Alchemist device in the room. So back to the energy. To me now, we are like experiencing our own technology that is currently activated in this very room. So this is something new as well, a massive accomplishment and update. So we are like the pioneers of that technology, like on the Earth right now, in this time, because it's an ancient new Earth. So it's not that we invented anything. I think we are just re-anchoring an ancient technology that was there before, I'm sure of it, but now it's we are like a few months away from launching the Alchemove like business, which will be a massive for the realm. This is my feeling about it. So now we on an energetic level, now we have access to that technology with the prototypes that we have here. So right here, like it's amazing, it's beautiful, and we are so looking forward to release that. So
and once Andrew is going to be
here in Montreal, you
put
will
your ass in front of it.
yes. So I'm so looking forward for you, Andrew, to your input to experience it and to see what you have to say about it. So
nice.
Yeah,
I'm honored. I'm absolutely honored.
Cool. Exciting.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in. All right, we'll wrap it up.
Ciao.
One love.